Is it cruel or kind not to speak my mind?
Pete Doherty was voted Cool Icon in 2004 by the influential music magazine NME. His last single with the group Baby Shambles shot straight into the top 10. But he's a self-confessed drug addict and is being compared to Jim Morrison and Kurt Cobain, stars whose talent and eventually whose lives were destroyed by their addiction.
Oh, please forgive me, I no longer hear the music.
In happier days, Doherty was one part of an outstandingly creative partnership with Carl Barrett. In 1998, they founded the pop group The Libertines, whose live performances quickly brought them a cult following. Yet the growing tension between Carl and Pete ended in acrimony, and in the middle of 2004, Pete was thrown out of the band. I met him some months later in December, before he became the subject of a media frenzy. We started by talking about those happier, earlier days when the Libertines released their first album, Up the Bracket. Tell me about those times, because in those red jackets, you'd all looked extraordinarily happy. Was that just an act?
I don't know. Well, there wasn't a script for any of the videos that said, be happy. But I suppose, in a way, I'm only happy playing my guitar or prancing about. So, no, it wasn't an act, I don't think. There's never been a script or a role to play.
But you were happy then?
I'm happy when I'm in Arcadia and all my senses are being filled with music or love or some other stimulant. But I say I was as happy now as I was then.
But what about this notion of Arcadia? What was your Arcadia?
It was the realm of the infinite, and still is. On any given day, we seek to find ourselves there in that. Like a kind of poet's paradise. Not like the rural idyll of yore, but some, I don't know, you can follow a melody like, down a dark, dark alley, and then you press a brick and all of a sudden the scenery will swing around and you find yourself in this extraordinary glade with all manner of things to excite you.
But where did all your own creativity come from? I mean, the talent for poetry first. I mean, were there stories in your house as a child?
I think I was always sung to and always read stories from an early age, which is very important, I think, for a child and their creativity. But I don't know, maybe to know where it came from or even what it is would be to dispel all the magic around it. And there isn't really a formula, is there, for creativity? It's something.
But as a young teenager, you were special at that. I mean, you were a young poet. I mean, you were taken by the British Council to Russia. I mean, can you still recite something from when you were 17?
I knew she wasn't English because she spoke it far too well. The grammar was goodly and the verbs as they should be, and the slang was bang on the bell. So as the language barrier clanged and banged, I couldn't hear or see England, London and Bow crumble into the sea. Yeah.
Do you think of yourself as a poet first and foremost? In the tradition of kind of romantic poets?
No, I never consider myself that way. I think I've got, well, it's probably quite evident, I do have a strong identity crisis anyway. So part of writing and singing or telling stories is just about creating this world where I do have a role and primarily as a storyteller.
What was so special about the relationship with Carl Barrett?
Well, firstly, I think, and most magically, that all our dreams came true, that we stuck by each other through thin and thin and thinner. And, yeah, everything we longed for and dreamt of, and it happened.
You're impossible, and it's just like he's in another world. He doesn't see the danger on show. They'll wind the blood Joseph bloody in the hole. It's just like she's in another world, another suited Joe. She never gets close.
You and Carl just seem to love each other.
Did he?
Yeah? I think you can see that in the videos. You did seem exceptionally close. Did you feel close to him?
Well, yeah, always, like yourself, with your close friends. Just people you love and have strong bonds with. Yeah, you stood by each other and lived together and like, achieved so much together.
But how did you go from that to needing a bouncer to keep you apart? You each had your own minder.
Yeah,
to keep you from doing damage to each other.
It wasn't like all of a sudden we were fighting, you know. I mean, in the past, long before we'd had any attention from anyone but ourselves, we were scrapping and we'd go months without talking. It wasn't like all of a sudden we developed this like love-hate relationship up from just loving each other. We'd always been antagonising each other or winding each other up.
Why? Was that just the relationship?
Yeah. Don't know, just jealousy on both our parts. Like, you know what I mean? If we had a new friend or a girl would become involved, or we'd be chasing the same girl, or in the midst of a drunken creative session, come the morning, we wouldn't be able to quite remember who wrote what line. So we'd come to blows quite often over that, over who wrote what. And because I'd be so sure if I'd written something, but he would as well. What can you do but fight or walk away? So.
But did ownership of the lyrics matter a lot to you?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, always. It's the most precious thing, really. It's like our children, and you know what I mean. Whether or not a child loves his mum, which is me, or his dad, which is Carl. Yeah, it meant the world, and it still does. Yeah, probably next time I see him, I'll probably be in court. You know what I mean? Fighting over a comma or something.
Can't Stand Me Now, on the Libertines' second album, describes the very painful breakdown of the relationship between Carl and Pete. They recorded the album in the spring of 2004, but by early summer, Pete Doherty was out. His drug abuse had become intolerable.
It almost turned into a dialogue between me and him, and then he changed a few lyrics and it became ours. And yeah, it was just, and from that moment it was always the most powerful song, like the most affecting song. And in a way the most affected, you know, the idea that he was singing his lines to me and I was replying, whereas in reality it was probably more scripted by me for the pair of us. And you can't stand me, no, you can't stand me now. You can't stand me, no, you can't stand me now. You can't stand me now. You can't stand me now. You can't stand me now.
But in the performance, you're referring to each other all the time. And there's a point in which one of the videos stops and it's just you looking up into his eyes.
Yeah, I've seen that look. It's not very comfortable, actually, looking at that. I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know if it's completely affectionate, that look, you know? I don't know.
Tell me about whatever happened to the Likely Lads, that video of the two wee boys.
Yeah, well, that was a surprise to me, actually, that video. I don't know who did it, but I thought it was a great video, actually. He looks quite a lot like me as well when I was younger, the dark-haired one. Shame about the rabbit.
Oh, what became of the Likely Lads? What became of the dreams we had? Oh, what became of forever? Oh, what became of forever? We'll never know. The blood runs thicker on with thicker stages, you know that that's important to you. Yes, it's important to me. I try to make you see. You don't want to know. You don't want to know. Oh, what became of the Likely Lads? What became of the dreams we had? Oh, what became of forever? Oh, what became of forever? We'll never know.
You no control over that.
No. No.
So,
Was that surprise you?
yeah, it does actually.
Well, you got to remember, I've been barred from playing with the band. Like, so anything else that follows, really, I mean, it could be no worse or no more surprising than that. To me, that's just about the worst thing that could have happened.
When did drugs start feeling glamorous?
Did I say they felt glamorous?
They must have. Why would you take them otherwise?
What? You think that I'd do it to feel glamorous? Or
I
would
don't know. You tell me.
I don't know. I think either you're glamorous or you're not. I don't know if taking drugs would make you feel glamorous necessarily. Maybe the opposite. It might make you feel a bit dingy or sordid. Or maybe for a split second you might feel elevated or glamorous, but I'd never say drugs were glamorous or made me feel glamorous.
So when did you start serious drugs? I mean, because that has been the story of the last 18 months, which has threatened to obscure all the creative impulses.
I don't know, maybe to 6 months before we got signed. A lot of those songs, Horror Show, General Smuts, I Get Along, yeah, they're all to do with that rush and that push. And the land that we stand on is ours, or we think it's ours. That's another thing that drugs are useful for, creating a delusion. Yeah.
Did drug taking affect your creativity?
It's very hard to say. Maybe in a few years I can look back and say, yeah, yes, absolutely, drug taking was negative for my creativity. But it's really hard to say. But a stab in the dark, yeah, I'd say drug taking affected my creativity in that it just distract you, you know, from picking up a pen or picking up a guitar. You'll pick up a foil flute or a needle or something that isn't going to help you write a song or write a poem. Simple, isn't it? When you're doing one thing, it stops you doing another. So a very basic level, yeah.
But did you recognise in yourself some kind of self-destructive impulse?
Always, yeah, always. Well, each man kills the things he loves. Yeah, I do. I recognise that in myself, in relationships, or even with guitars, or beautiful things that I've had and willfully destroyed.
But did it get so bad that you really couldn't function? I mean, you were shooting up, yeah, and taking crack cocaine. I mean, it presumably doesn't get much worse.
No, It doesn't, and like history's shown us, there's only one conclusion really, and that's the blackout, the great void, which is worse, maybe, I suppose. I'm not a nihilist, and I don't want to die, so that would be the worst thing. And I really value my creative talents, so to stifle them or destroy them is a terrible thing. And yeah, it reached a point where I couldn't function, you know what I mean? Where it was emotionally and financially, it was costing an awful lot, even to be able to get out of bed. Like.
Are you clean now?
Well, if I stood myself next to myself 6 months ago, then I'd feel cleaner and stronger, but probably if I stood myself next to myself in 6 months' time, I might feel a little ragged or...
But no heroin just now?
Not just now.
Not right this minute?
No.
But you couldn't honestly say to yourself, put your hand in your heart, to say that you wouldn't take heroin again?
I could easily say that, but I couldn't say it with any meaning or any great depth. No.
Not really from a kind of moral standpoint, more from the point of the trail of destruction, though. I mean, I'm just interested in this because you are, you know, you are sensitive. You obviously think about these things. And the whole drug-taking thing is not so much about your own morality as the fact that, you know, in order to get the drugs up your nose or into your arm, whatever, you know, maybe a couple of women
I've never snorted, really.
Just
to great levels. Yeah, I've never liked that. I've never...
Didn't want the bridge of your nose to disappear.
No.
That maybe a couple of women have had to carry drugs in their stomachs or they've been in prison for what they did. I mean, it's the trail that gets it from, you know, the plant to you or the...
Yeah.
I mean, do you feel guilt about that?
Oh, I feel guilty about so many things. I don't feel guilty at the point of taking drugs, no, otherwise I probably wouldn't take it, because then the negative things that come from that moment would outweigh any of the joys, so...
Also in terms of...
I've never thought of that, though, actually. It's funny you say that.
Yeah.
The mules.
But it is that, it's the drug mules.
The only way to get around that would be to grow your own poppies, I suppose. That would be too time-consuming.
In the East End of London.
Yeah.
But do you think there was this... If you look at the cover of the Libertines album, do you think the danger was that it was trading on the idea of drugs? You're there with your arm like
Absolutely, yeah, it's disgraceful. But
you
unfortunately... Well, no. Unfortunately, by that time, all power had slipped away from my grasp, and I was always so precious about artwork. And so for them to go on with the artwork and to misprint lyrics and not to credit songs and to use a photo, it was like Stalinist Russia, where all evidence of any of my influence is gone now. You know what I mean?
One of the ballads is one of the most affecting songs on the Libertine album. Could you play it for us?
Music when the lights go out? Yeah, I'll play it for you. Is it cruel or kind not to speak my mind and to lie to you rather than hurt you? Well, I'll confess all of my sins after several large gins, but still I'll hide from you and hide what's inside from you. And alarm bells ring when you say your heart still sings when you're with me. Oh, please forgive me, I no longer hear the music. Oh, no, 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 no. Oh. And all the memories of the pubs and the clubs and the drugs and the tubs we shared together will stay with me forever. But all the highs and the lows and the twos and the fro's, they left me dizzy. Say you'll forgive me, I no longer hear the music. Oh no, 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 no. Oh. Well, I no longer hear the music when the lights go up. Love goes cold in the shades of dark. Strange fates in my mind, it's all too clear.
Music when the lights come on. The girl I thought I knew is gone. With her my heart it disappeared. And I no longer hear the music. Oh no, 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 no. I no longer hear the music.
I spoke to your mum yesterday,
Oh, really?
and she'd written us a letter when she sent us some photographs.
All right.
And I asked her permission to read this back to you.
Mm.
She said, Peter is a gifted poet, writer, and thinker. Please be considerate with him. I feel he's very vulnerable. He has a sensitive soul and has many good points. He has helped so many people. In spite of, perhaps, your first impression of him, he is actually trying to address this problem.
Oh,
I mean, does that matter to you that your family's very worried about you?
yeah, of course it does, yeah. And, well, in the past, it's been the only reason I've ever made any attempt to control myself or address my conduct, knowing that there's a heartbroken lady somewhere, so...
But I suppose if you're an addict, it's not enough of itself, the fact that perhaps your mother is worried, to get you to stop, is it?
No. And she knows that. But if I was a teetotal vicar somewhere, she'd probably be equally as worried that my bicycle clips weren't tight enough or something.
Now you know that the time is come, and they said it would never come for you. Oh, my friends, you haven't changed. You're the king of the living strange, and I know you've got a taste for it too. They'll never forgive you, but they won't let you go. Oh no, she'll never forgive you, but she won't let you go. Oh no. The sun, you cast your pearls, but you're on the run. And all the lies you said, who did you say? And then they played that song at the dead disco. It started fast, but it ends so slow. And all the time just reminded me of you. They'll never forgive you, but they won't let you go. Let me go! She'll never forgive you, but she won't let you go. Oh no!
I suppose I couldn't say you left the Libertines. Did the Libertines leave you? I mean, what happened?
Yeah, they left me by the side of the road with a plastic bag. All kinds of bitterness. Well, in my mind, really, and I can say this forever, I suppose, where people might laugh at it, but I don't think I ever really left the Libertines, nor can I ever leave the Libertines. You know, having been the founder of the band with Carl, but that sounds silly, doesn't it, given that they played all the festivals without me and made it difficult, no, impossible for me to play live with them. It's the only thing
Maybe
that
you
gives
just
me
couldn't cope anymore with you.
He couldn't cope with me.
Maybe, I mean, I'm asking.
I don't know. I haven't spoken to him. He's got no interest in talking to me. One day, maybe it'll all become clear. And it's very confusing.
Could there be some kind of rapprochement? Can you imagine playing again with Carl Barrett?
You're asking the wrong person. You know what I mean?
No, I'm asking the right person.
Well, no, because I've made attempts to talk to him and he doesn't want to know at the moment. So when his lordship is ready to talk to me, I'll still be here.
And would you play again with him?
Well, yeah, if I'm able-bodied, I'll play. I mean, he's a good guitarist, and whether he'll be able to play with a broken arm is a different matter, but...
And who's going to break it?
My old self. The old self which still carries that resentment that I no longer do.
But here you are, I mean, in a sense that the Libertines, you say they'll always be with you, because you and Carl Barrett together made the Cool Icons of 2004. Do you think you deserve that accolade?
Well, yeah, but maybe that Cool Icon was someone who, for the first time, made a serious effort to curb his drug taking, and with some success, of late. Hopefully that'll continue. So, if it's right to celebrate someone who just immerses himself completely in drugs with no concern, well, some people might think that was cool anyway, to do exactly as you choose. But as it happens, I've chosen to try and combat some of those destructive forces off my own back as well. You know, shoot that damn monkey. You know what I'm saying?
And how do you do that? How are you doing? Is it really willpower?
Willpower, and to a certain degree, removing yourself from certain surroundings, avoiding certain people, and I don't know, with God's strength, we'll fight this affliction.
But do you want to be clean?
I don't know. Well, I suppose one man's cleanliness is another man's dirty water, really. So no matter how clean your blood is, I mean, what's in your soul and what's in your mind? I mean, I'm sure if the thought police came around, they'd find other people far dirtier than me when it came to that. But so if my blood was a little bit tainted, maybe I can make up for it with pure thoughts.
Isn't there a danger that, in terms of role models, that we've seen much more like Jim Morrison, Kurt Cobain as a kind of cliche of a rock and roll lifestyle?
Well, I can only hope not. I think a lot of the kids that come up to me after gigs or write to me aren't really bothered, don't seem bothered about drugs. They're quite clued up, and they don't take their inspiration from the drugs. They take their inspiration from the songs which they want to learn, or where I got a jacket from, something like that. I'm yet to have someone come up to me and ask them for a drug dealer's number. And
are you sure you're not going to self-destruct?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know where the button is, so... just got to resist the temptation to push it, you know what I mean? And not let anyone else push it. Yeah.
Pete Doherty, thank you very much.
That's a pleasure, thank you.
Stay with BBC4 as we begin to unravel the fascinating 3 billion year history of Europe, reliving events that have shaped our landscape and wildlife. Tonight, Oxford overrun with dinosaurs and the birth of the Mediterranean. Next.